Coming to China, I didn't know what to expect, and I don't think most people I know are even on the map as far as what goes on here. No book can tell you, no show can show you. There's just no way you can ever understand what's going on here without coming here for yourself.
I sort of felt coming to China that I knew so little about it, that I didn't have well-formed, strongly formed expectations of what I would see. But arriving here, I mean, I must have had some vague notions in my head, because when I got here, I kept finding myself being surprised by things. So I certainly saw a great deal during our 2 weeks here that I had not expected to see.
I had a few expectations. Most of my perspective has been through filtered Western media or secondhand stories from friends or other people who've traveled to this area. And some of my preconceptions were that it was dirty, that perhaps it was a little backwards and not as advanced as my own society, that perhaps China wasn't quite caught up with where I was at. And so in coming here, I was maybe going back in time to a more controlled and less expressive environment where people really didn't have the same options that I have myself.
And I had read an article about how so many of the farms in China are very small plots of land. And so things like joining the WTO and how people holding small plots of land are going to adjust to the opening and trade was really interesting to me, and it's not something that I ever would have really thought about on my own. So I think when I go home, I'm going to try and seek out more information about that, because the development here is noticeable and is definitely a part of today's China.
You know, I really came into my own in the sense that you can't bring your preconceptions with you. I can't come here and tell these people that the way I do things is better, because they can turn around and say, well, the way we do things is better. We're an older society. We've existed longer. We have a great wall. We have an ancient shopping street. You know, we've had dynasties. So you have to come to terms with that, and you have to learn the balance between, you know, your world and the real world.
My advice to anyone else coming to visit China would be to make an effort to go eat with Chinese people, because they will feed you too much, of course, but it's just, the whole eating process is really fun, especially if you're with a big group out at a restaurant. The food will all be brought, that's placed in the center of the table. Everyone's sharing the food, especially when the soup comes. There's this sort of happy slurping noise, which makes me as an American, because I'm not used to it, feel like everyone's relaxed and informal. So I enjoyed that part the most, and I think that coming to China, if I was just by myself or here with an American friend, I would have really missed out on that experience.
Coming in, I didn't know what to expect, and I'm really glad I came. I'm really glad I've seen this. I wanted to see it, and this trip has been far beyond anything I could have ever imagined.